Michael, if you want to. All right, we're good to go. Welcome everyone to the November meeting of the Family Communications Committee. Thank you all so much for being here on this really chilly, kind of feels like winter time day. I'm sure everybody put their sweaters on this morning. But anyway, welcome back. I see that we're missing some of our members this evening. We will get them caught up with the minutes. All right, just a quick review of what we're going to discuss tonight. We'll do a quick welcome, and then we are going to talk a little bit about the October roundtable review and reflection. Some of our members here participated in that as a facilitator. So we just want to talk a little bit about some of the takeaways from the roundtable that we had with our families with students with disabilities. We had some really robust dialogue in all of the groups. So I'll just be interested to hear some of your thoughts for those that participated. And we can talk a little bit about maybe what our next roundtable focus will be. The next item will be to talk about 2021 committee focus and goals. I think that in 2020, we did a good job of resurrecting this committee and doing some good work. But I think now is the time for us truly to dial down and figure out, what do we want to accomplish? Are there any types of policies that we would like to help inform? Is there additional research that we want to conduct? What are the pieces that what part do we want to play as a Family Communications Committee in 2021? So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then our final item for the evening, an extremely important one. It's going to be about the website review. So Anne and her team are taking a look at the website and trying to figure out ways to make it more accessible for our community and our families. And so she's going to talk a little bit about where they are in that process. And then we are going to ask members of the Family Communications Committee to do deep dives in certain areas. So you'll be assigned, I'm not sure how many groups you came up with, Anne, but you'll be assigned into teams or groups to take a look at the website from a very objective perspective. And was it easy for me to get around? Did I get the information I needed? How many clicks did I have to do? And we did this about a year ago, but a lot's changed on the website since then, and a lot will be changing on the website. So this is an opportunity for you to provide some really important insight as they continue to build that for the future. So any questions about this evening's agenda? All right, fabulous. So let's just start. I'm going to pull up the notes here, and I don't know, do we want to share these? I can share my screen and the notes
Sure.
from the table. All right.
You should be able to do that now.
Let's see. So just, I'm going to pull up the notes from, do you see the October first page of Students with Disabilities paperwork? Yes? Okay. So I just would like to, for those of you that were a part of that evening as a facilitator or a scribe, if you could just share a little bit about that experience and just your general takeaways from the conversations that we had with parents and families.
I can go first. We got a lot of really great information, Caress and I. It was a little hard though. We did have a lot of people in our group, and I do know that some of our group members were able to speak a lot about all that they're going through. However, it was noticeable that there were some members that were not also able to kind of put their thoughts into it. And I kind of would have liked to have heard a little bit more from those people. So that was probably the biggest difficulty, I guess, with the size of it. And it's not that it was a bad size. I know that going into it, I thought it was good. It's just that I think in as much as, because it's focused on kids with IEPs and differing abilities, that we probably should have considered that as well and reduced the amount of people per group to be able to get literally all of their feedback.
That's really great feedback, Cynthia. And what I would suggest too is we make sure that we pass that to Dr. Jones, who is the director of special education now, because I believe that they're considering doing some similar type of experiences. So I think that that's really good. So, and if we can make sure that we get that shared with them, just that as a takeaway.
Yeah.
Those groups.
Also, oh, I'm sorry to interrupt. In conjunction with that, for those who are participating, perhaps maybe the questions that we're going to ask, because a little bit of it was on the fly for them. And so they weren't like, they needed a few minutes to really think and to formulate their answer and to try and, you know, because it seemed like we were hard pressed for time, because it seemed like it was a whole lot of time, but in actuality, you know, it was like, you know, how do you tell someone who's having this huge thing happen, I need you to limit your answer to 30, 45 seconds. It's kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, it doesn't seem fair or nice, I guess. Just being able to maybe provide them with all of the questions that we're going to ask them, so that way they can maybe have their answers already ready to go. And then conversely, we could ask them to maybe email it to us, so that way if they didn't get a chance to speak, we still have their answers.
I think that's a really good idea for roundtables moving forward. If we submit the questions out early, so then maybe if people aren't available to attend, they could still respond. That's a really great suggestion, Cynthia. Thank you. Great. Anyone else, any reflections or thoughts on the process or any of the conversations that you had?
Our group was really great. It was 7 or 8 parents. It was really diverse group, both in terms of the age of their children and a wide range of special education service programs. And we had a couple of parents with students with 504. So it was a good mix. I think one of the big takeaways that I thought was interesting and noteworthy, I think it sort of spoke to, in the absence of information, sometimes people make it up for themselves, or sort of, you know, try to talk to a bunch of different people and create truth, you know, out of the bits and pieces that they get. Very definitely our group felt like that the parent Facebook groups that are independently created, not like New Hanover County Schools, you know, sponsored, that is where they get the majority of their information. And who the participant in those groups that like reign supreme in terms of being the knowledge holder are the teachers who participate. So, you know, for me, you know, as I was thinking about it through the lens of being a school principal, I think over communicating, you know, really being transparent in that communication. One of the things that a parent said that I thought was really interesting is the notion of, we know that the information is going to change. We get that by just the novel nature of all of this, that it will change, but rather than waiting until you have the final decision, that they really wanted the bits and pieces along the way, knowing it would change. And I don't know if that's true for everyone or effective for everyone, because I think the fear becomes sometimes, well, this person only was tuned in for this nugget. And so, you know, then they miss the updates. But it definitely spoke to wanting more information, and I don't know that they use the word transparent, but sort of that notion of sort of being in the know as it's happening and as the thinking is progressing, which I thought was interesting. And then I think it also spoke to having that level of transparency at the school level with our teachers, because, you know, we have more teachers than any other, you know, staff member, you know, in the district. We have so many teachers. And so if they are participating in these groups and trying to answer some of these parents' questions, you know, making sure that the information that they have is correct and not what they have sort of pieced together because there hasn't been enough communication. Because I did, you know, say, well, are you aware that New Hanover County Schools has a Facebook page, you know, and sort of to try to steer in that direction. And some were aware, but said, you know, they want the details, and so they felt like, you know, that it was within those groups that they were getting those. And so I don't know how we consider how we use that as a tool, or to one of the parents who was in our group actually facilitates one of the parent Facebook groups. And so I think there's probably some truth to that. I mean, they have high numbers, you know, of people who participate. And so I don't know. I thought that was really noteworthy. The only other thing is they felt like the school level communication was strong. That there was more. One parent said, we get the district communication, and then the school communication is, well, here's what that really means. And so I did sort of chuckle when they said that, but I think it becomes more about, you know, when the district makes a statement, it's a statement that's applicable for all families and children. And so then, you know, there's probably some truth to that, because at the school level, you know, we say, this is what that means for alderman students, you know, or whatever. But I thought it was a great night. I wondered how the facilitation would be in Zoom versus being, you know, face to face at the board center. But it was great. You know, some people had their cameras on, some didn't, but everyone in the group participated and shared their insight. And so I thought it was really good information for the committee. And, you know, I felt like I benefited from it, hearing that perspective. So it was really good discussion.
Thank you, Kate. Yeah, it's funny. So it sounds like your groups were larger. We ended up, the group that I was a part of, I think we had two, and a third parent we had was having some internet issues. So she was kind of going in and out, but we had just great dialogue. And I think, because going back to what Cynthia's point, when you have that small group, and we also had some representatives from the special education department, that really, we had a very robust dialogue. And I walked away feeling very positive, because their experiences that they have had with their children have been extremely positive at the school level, from a communication standpoint, and just the journey that their child has been on. So it was a really great night, and it felt very, it just felt very positive. And I agree, you know, with Kate. I didn't know how the Zoom platform would work with this, but I think that it definitely showed us it's possible, and you still can very much get into some really good conversations over some very important topics. So yeah, I think that we should continue, you know, having the option. We had in-person people that night as well, didn't we?
We did.
And how did that go?
Yeah, I was part of the in-person group, and I felt like we felt that same time pressure. We did not get to everything, because there was a lot of input and a lot of people who really came prepared to talk, which was wonderful. But we just didn't have time to capture everything. So I agree about the questions ahead of time. I think that would be perfect. I think that one of the things, a theme that kept coming up in our group was the teacher relationship, and how absolutely pivotal that is to the whole thing. That one-to-one communication for the parents who were in our group, and how difficult COVID has made that. But everybody was acknowledging that that's just the nature of the situation right now. There were a couple methods of communication that were discussed, and one that stuck with me in particular was parent saying that they felt like they were an afterthought to all of the regular communications, and that really stuck with me, because I felt like that is definitely something that we need to be mindful of, is to make that front and center part of all of our communications, is to think of all of our populations and how they're receiving our communications. So but we did definitely feel that time crunch, and felt that we could have gone quite a bit longer.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has any feedback or thoughts on the October roundtable? No. So obviously we're going into December, and so technically this would be a roundtable month. But I think with the holidays and there's a lot going on, we will probably not host a roundtable in December. I'm sure you all have plenty of other things going on in your life. I will put it to the committee. If you disagree, if you would like to host a roundtable, we can discuss that. Otherwise, we would table our next roundtable until February. So what are your thoughts?
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. We've got one good idea.
Maybe. Can't we make it in January? Like December, I'm just like, no. Especially with the holiday meal twice this week. Yeah, no.
Right.
And then we have it again in December. So no, please.
I mean, that is a possibility. You know, again, to the will of the committee, what are your thoughts on that about doing a roundtable? We would not necessarily be meeting prior to that roundtable, though. We would have a conversation around what that roundtable would be between now and then, unless we called something.
Right, that was going to be my concern too. When would we plan what we were going to discuss in February?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, can we agree then, February for our next roundtable? All right. Thank you. And thank you again to everybody that participated for that event, and to the communications team that makes the magic happen. You know, from the marketing of the event, it went out on all of our social media channels. I think we had a fabulous turnout for this conversation, and really that is to Anne and her team. You guys did an amazing job, and even this part of it too, being able to broadcast it out for people to see. So thank you very much for that. All right, I covered up my agenda as I'm moving things around here. Hold on one second. All right. Next item is the committee focus and goals. And I want to just open this up. We know that the mission of this group is to make sure that we're helping to support communication for all of our families across the district, and helping to make that better, and to gather that feedback to be able to make that better. So, you know, we've done some good things this past year. You know, we've from everything from our non-English speaking families, you know, accommodations that have been made through some of those conversations. There have been some website upgrades that have come out of this conversation. Connect 5-time calls going out school versus district. We've had some really good conversations. But I'd like to narrow down some of that focus as we go into 2021. So what thoughts do you have from a communication standpoint? Obviously, we're going to talk about the website, but beyond that, what else would you like to see this group accomplish?
So I'll go first. A couple things I know we had talked about last year. I think it'd be kind of one thing I would really think that figuring out how and if we can do a text messaging service. I think that should be a primary focus, because it seems like a lot of people want that, still want written communication, but you know, maybe a little bit quicker than an email.
We actually have that available.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's wonderful. And then I think the other thing we want to, I think would be a good focus, and I know we've done this a little with the website, but even just other communication, is how are we going to be consistent among all the schools? You know, what standard of consistency are we aiming for, you know, among all elementary, middle school, and high school, but all the different schools too, so that everyone's getting the same information at a district level at the same time. I think that should just be a good focus.
I think that's a great suggestion. And is that something that that we could talk about from a process standpoint? I know that you are talking about those within your department. Could we possibly help support those efforts?
Yeah, I really think that would be a great area to dig into. Two items on our to-do list: better coordination of school and district communications in general across the board, and better support from our division for the schools, and then consistency in messaging through the entire district, just what you just described. And I know of some strategies to get us there, but to have the support of the committee and the input would be fantastic.
And I think the point of having that information out at the same time is essential, because if one gets it before the others, then there's competition.
Yeah. And if another thing, and I've seen it because my kids are in 2 different schools and I'm in a 3rd school. So, and I've literally seen a district message go out to staff members and then literally 3 completely separate interpretations by admin. And not that there's anything wrong with that. That's super confusing to a parent. And as a staff member, when I'm constantly defending, New Hanover County Schools going, yeah, no, that's, and they're just like, but they said, and I'm like, yeah, but I know it came from the district. Like, it's amazing how you can have the same thing go out and people understand something completely different. So if the message is just given exactly the way that it's intended.
Great. Thank you. All right. So consistency and coordination, of information, coordination between school and district, ways that we can support. Anything else you would like to see? And obviously roundtables too. We'll continue to do those roundtables with different subgroups. But anything else you can think of?
One thing that in our policy, we've talked about reassuring parents of the interim reports when they come out. And parents don't always get them, especially when they were, the students were to bring them home. So is that something that this committee could put announcements of when to expect the interim reports as well as the report cards?
I think that's, I know that I believe those things are listed on the district calendars, but you're speaking of, and I know that I get those updates from my son's school directly, but you're saying from more of a district announcement,
Yes.
to remind people. Okay, yeah. Thoughts on that?
Even with a text to our people that are tuned in to know. I'm very concerned about the report that we had about the attendance of our students and participation. And we just have to keep these parents informed and encourage them to stay involved.
Ms. Nichols, that makes me think of, is there a place for this committee to help support in some of the conversations in response to COVID, to provide feedback on the school announcements that we get, since I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. Would it be advantageous to use this group to share their experiences with receiving those notices, and ways to streamline it? Because I know we're continuing to improve and do the best that we possibly can with those notifications. Is there a space for that? I don't know.
That's certainly something that needs to be considered, and find out what they're doing in other systems that we might be able to utilize their creativity.
Okay.
One idea might be to have maybe roundtables. We had talked about this in the past, based on school levels, and get like a group of parents, say maybe all elementary, and just kind of find out like what information do they feel like they're not getting at that level, what information would they like more of, and then like at the middle school and then the high school level, so we can kind of understand, where are we hitting the mark and getting it right, and where on each level do we need to work on our communications or have schools work on communications. That may be one idea to kind of help with that. Like, do all this grade level know they're getting the interim reports at this point, but this group isn't, just so it would kind of give us some guidance on where to improve from.
I love that idea, because it is, I think in elementary, we tend to get a lot of information, right? And I think that sort of tapers off a little bit as they move forward in the years, but that's just my assumption. I don't have data to back that up. So, to hear that directly from parents, I think that's a wonderful idea. All right, anyone else? So far, I've got consistency of information, coordination between school and district, continued roundtable discussions, information about interim reports and report cards, COVID response feedback, and data collection by grade levels. got a good list going. I think that will kick us off pretty well for 2021. Right? Okay, next, actually last item on the agenda, this meeting may end quickly tonight, which I'm sure some of you will appreciate. I see Ms. Taylor is still in her office, so she's had a long day there. The last part is the website review. And so I'm going to actually turn this over to Ann Gibson, our Chief Information Officer, to talk a little bit about where we are in this process, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so this is very timely because we are just now starting to address a lot of changes and updates in our website. And the first, one of the first things that Dr. Faust did when he came in, and we're so appreciative, was to move Dolores McLean, our webmaster, over to our building. And we have started working more easily together because she's here. So Dolores is on the call now. So she's going to back me up here with where I might miss something. But some of the things that we've done since that move, she has built out a principal directory, a general alphabetical directory. These are things that were already underway. She was working on in technology, and she's just gone live with them recently. And then we're starting sort of our phase one. We're starting to dig deeper into the home page because it has a lot of limitations the way that it's currently designed. So we've just entered into an agreement to move some work forward. Dolores has already created some graphics, added some graphic elements to the homepage that weren't there before, district at a glance statistics, and a feature video panel toward the bottom of the scroll. We have some great, more content-rich features coming in the next couple months. We're going to be adding a digital magazine. There is a newsletter feature that we have had, and schools and the district have access to this. So we have just had some training. We're going to roll out a test newsletter with our internal employee newsletter, and then we're going to roll that out for more uses as a district, but also make sure that the schools know that they're able to use that as well, because you're able to pull content from the website directly into your publication. So it's a really good way to share all the content and not have to recreate it in numerous places. We're going to be redesigning the slider, which is that large graphic hero image at the top, because it takes up so much valuability. So we're building more content options into that. So we'll have some text, we'll have buttons that link to other content deeper into the site, but we'll still have an option for a photo, but we'll also have an option for video. So those are improvements. We're adding 2 content panels, which will be, this isn't going to make a lot of sense, you're going to have to see it, but one is a set of buttons that will link to content deeper in the site, and the other is a set of hover panels that will link to content deeper in the site. It just gives us more opportunity to load more content into the website and then to pull it out to the home page so it's readily accessible. So these are all quick, right off the bat improvements, but there's a lot more that can be done. We also, we're going to start a content audit to look at what we have right now and have all the friends and schools update so content we have there is current. But then we need to do that deeper dive and get into the internal pages, and that's where the support of the committee is going to be really helpful in terms of reviewing the usability, the user interface, and the content that we have right now. So any questions or comments about the website? And then Dolores can talk a little bit about how we're going to divide the site up for review. But any comments or questions?
Mention the buttons, and I'm just trying to understand, is that in an effort to minimize clicks to get to something?
It is right now. We have the drop-down menus at the top, So you can hover, drop down menu, and then click in, and then there are a lot of important content areas there to take you 3 or 4 clicks to get to where you need to be. So bringing these buttons out and creating panels on the home page allow it to be a more 1 or 2 click experience, because we know people don't click through 3, 4, 5 times to get to what they want to find.
That's great. Thank you.
And do you think we should, whoever's testing out the website, should we do it on a cell phone and a computer and see if it's friendly on both? Because I know last time we kind of did something like this, people got different answers if they were using a phone or a website on how many clicks it took, or how much information they were able to see.
And a tablet too, because even that changes it up as well.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And if you're able to do it on all 3 size screens and devices, that would be fantastic. I didn't mention this, but we are working on getting access to our analytics. I mean, that's a key part. We need to be able to look at that and look at where we're getting the page views and where the traffic is coming from. But I would venture to say it's going to be mobile primarily. So that is really important. So yes, that would be great. Okay, if there are no other questions, Dolores, are you there? I think you're muted.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about how we might divide up the website review? I think you had identified 6 to 8 categories.
Well, I think we decided probably the main menu items that are in the blue across there, with the exception of careers, because that's sort of a pull out from HR to begin with. 1 page and it's just the information about people who need to apply. But we were going to take the other main content areas and ask people to, go through each one and look at, what they find, what they don't find. Organization even is the divisions, look at that directory that we created. What else do we need to, add to that? We're looking for, any information that you see as lacking that you could bring in. The schools right now, I mean, we talked about, Anna and I talked about this, and we said, from a perspective, what are some things I don't want anybody to have to click through every school webpage, which is fine. But for right now, for the district level, it's just sort of maybe think about what content at an elementary level, what are the things you expect to find? Because every school's focus is a little different. So there's going to be differences, but there should be some basic consistency across the board at the elementary, middle, and high school level. Our special schools are a little different. So, you have to allow for that, but there's still that basic information that should be there. So, any feedback about that would be good. But I really feel like we just need, I'm new here, so I'm not sure what everybody's interests are or what they like to do. So I didn't assign people to areas. I was trying to be more, open. But we need a couple people, for each of those areas. And that came up to, I think that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6. There's the About Us, the Board of Education, schools, divisions, families and students, and then the school reopening. I know Ann said we'd like for somebody to kind of look through that, because so much has changed that we might need to think about how to, regroup with that section as we move forward. I mean, we kind of already done it once when we were, from last March until the school restarted, and then we kind of redid it. And then when, we went to Plan B, it changed again. So it probably needs a good, click through that and see what we're missing or what needs to be updated. So, Ann, do you have any, people just want to say what they like to do, or
Yeah, I guess we could do it. If anybody has a section that they would like to review, if you let us know, and then we can follow up after the meeting with an email that lists the sections and assign those who don't have a preference.
And not to add more to everybody's plate, but because we are kind of a small committee, maybe like we should all do 2. That way you get a few more eyes on each one, as opposed to like 1 or 2 people looking at all of that. I don't know.
Oh, you and I have the same thought, but I'm terrible. In an effort like increase redundancy, but I know that like sometimes I'll look at something, miss a typo that someone else has caught, maybe 2 or 3 sections, and have 2 people focused on a section as well. That way we can kind of cover all bases and make sure that all the information that we're looking for is there. I also wanted to offer a suggestion about that. I know like I was looking for the district psychologist at one point, whose name for the life of me I could not remember. It would have been great to be able to go to the district website to look up the position so I could find the person. So like, you know, like for me personally, cafeteria manager at Blair School, like someone wants to know who that is, they can go to Blair School, click on cafeteria manager and find out exactly who that person is. And then that would be me. So that might also be another way to almost like cross-reference the lists.
So, I mean, does anybody have any, you know, yes, I want to do this, or you want us just to kind of assign these and send an email out?
I don't know, what kind of lists are they? Like, I mean, I'm down for whatever.
Yeah, so if you, Dolores, if you could just go over those again. I know there was the reopening. I almost feel like everybody should go over the reopening page just because that's
Okay.
such
Yeah.
a high need right now, and it's what we're all talking about. But then you said there it was like family.
It was basically it's basically the main navigation on the website.
Okay.
Which there's the About Us section, which things that fall under there fall in other areas too, but there's the office the superintendent's page, some basic information, the equity, diversity and inclusion page, and some different things. There is now, to understand how this works, there is a page called About Us, but there's also drop down items too that are sort of, that's another way to bring out some of that information, so you don't have to go to the page to get to everything. But that's the main section. Now, the Board of Education, some of the information there is still housed locally on our website. Others is at Assembly. So, you know, I just would like somebody, I guess, because we've got it in separate places, it would be good to click through that and see if everything is linked together. So like if you're on Assembly and you come back to New Hanover County for the history or the archive materials or whatever, are you able to navigate everywhere you need to be and not feel like you're getting lost one place or the other? And then there's the schools, which really is just we have a directory, a principal directory on one page with that information. And then there's links to the schools. And then the divisions, there's a directory page, which lists not just the main divisions, but also a lot of the departments and other areas that are of interest. And so, Anne, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but we were thinking, I would like for you to look at the directory page and see what we could add to that. And maybe with the divisions, hit their main page and kind of look at their, not every page of their division, but the content, that how their main navigation in that area is organized. You know, like when you go to student support, they have a navigation within their division. Are you seeing, you know, what you need to find? When you go to human resources, is the information there? Now, this is public information because, you know, we do have a portal for staff. So you really need to look at it as a public visitor. And when you go to the divisions, look at this as a visitor, not as a staff. That's a separate thing. You know, we can look at that another time. Those that are staff members can provide feedback. And then the family and students section, that really tries to pull together information that you're going to find other places, but that's sort of those hot topics for parents and students. And I did forget one. There's community. There's also a community page, and I've forgotten that one. Mm-hmm. Which tries to pull together some of the information and bring it up that the community would be interested in. And I think that's one we could probably build out. We could, there's probably some things that need to be added there. So those were the areas. It's just really the main navigation, with the exception of careers, that we need to look at. Okay. There's anything else?
I would just like to say I love the updates on the principal page. Even as a board member, like when I go to visit schools, it's so nice to pull that up now and see principal pictures. Just if I'm like checking addresses, it looks so good, and it's I don't know, it's just an introduction to the school to see that smiling face. So I love that. So that's my feedback for that one.
It's nice because then when you see the principals and then you can click directly onto the school and get to the school, which is way faster than what we used to have to do to try and get to a school. So I love it too.
All right, so reopening About Us, divisions, family and students, community, and the Board of Education page. Who feels very strongly about any of these topics that you're like, that is what I want to review?
I kind of want to do the Board of Education because there's some stuff in there that I would like to see.
All right.
So
you got it. Cynthia will be our first one for the Board of Ed page. And I know that I don't have a bio on there yet. I'm working on it.
Mine is coming off.
Really?
Yes.
I was wondering who was leaving. I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
4 of us are leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm assuming Bill, because I know that must have been him and the other that was, right? It was the same person?
Yes.
Mr.
Okay.
Yeah, for county commissioner, yes.
Yep. Yeah, because I wondered how could there possibly be 2 Bill Rivenbarks in town? So yeah. I wish you could have photos when you vote too, because it'd be like, what was the name of that guy that I met? Yeah. Well, that's how I voted for Nelson the year that he came in.
I would like to put myself on community as one of my, just because I like that partnership piece, and so I'd like to review that one.
Anyone else?
Is everybody else, you're just good with getting what you get?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I'm fine. I'm not disinterested. I just am willing to do any of them.
Okay. I suggest the principal does the principal page. I mean, is that weird?
Yeah. I mean, the one that I probably access the least is community, but I can do.
So we can just.
Oh wow, that's huge.
Everybody.
I don't do About Us. I mean, I don't go to About Us very much either. So that's one that I could. I mean, it would be fresh eyes just because I don't click that one often.
Mm-hmm.
So and I've been on everyone quite a bit. So whichever one you guys want to give me is fine. But I'm very familiar with probably all of it.
You've got to put your parent eyes on, Dawn.
Yeah, I'll put my eyes on any of it. It makes no difference.
Yeah, and I was saying, I don't know if it's better to go to one that I frequent or one that I'm not sure that I've ever really clicked on. So whatever.
Well, and I guess you and I we'll get together and assign that, and then we'll email everybody.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I would say, I mean, certainly if you find typos, and absolutely finding content, but look at the user experience also, kind of step back and look at, am I seeing what I think I should see, what I need, what I want to see if I'm, this audience for this section, and, thinking of the usability, how many clicks it takes to get to something, what you absolutely can't find, navigation that's confusing. Those things are helpful too.
Okay. Is there? I think that's a really good list. When you send out the assignments, could you say that just as, here are the things to look for, reminder, typos, what I need, what is missing, and usability, just as a reminder for us.
Yes.
I think in chunks, and so I'll create myself, a sheet of paper, and I'll have my little boxes as I'm going through. So that will help
compartmentalize it.
We'll
give instructions. And we also need to think about a deadline. I don't know,
Yes.
we hadn't talked about that, so I don't know. I have so many, balls bouncing around right now.
I mean, we could we could look at our January meeting date, and we could plan to share out at that time if that works for you.
Yes.
Or does that align with the timeline you guys are on right now, or is that behind?
That should work. Actually, that should work well. We'll be
Okay.
wrapping up our first round of changes and be ready for more.
All right, so I believe we pick the third Thursday of each month, so that will be January 21st will be the next meeting in 2021. Woohoo. All right. Well, thank you very much for putting that together, and I look forward to having the opportunity to look at our website with some fresh eyes and helping to be a part of this process as you guys refresh and renew, and it's going to be great. Anything else for discussion or for the committee? Take of committee today? No.
So will Ms. Nichols still be on our committee, or is this her last meeting? How does that work?
This is my last meeting.
Well,
I won't work.
I understand. We're going to miss you very much. Thank you.
You are very kind, very kind.
We are gonna miss you.
Ms. Nichols brought up, we were chatting before the meeting started, and so she's been on the board for 20 years. So just board meetings alone, she has attended 240 board meetings in her time here. That doesn't include the rest of it that goes with it.
That would be only once a month, and
Yeah.
often we had two. So just double that, and never been late, never missed anything except for one work session, and I was in Las Vegas then. So.
Well, we will miss your input and insights, and you are welcome to join us at any family communications committee in the future. If you get bored, you might get bored.
I will test your website and let you know what I can't find.
All right.
But it's been delightful hearing from our parents and our bus drivers and people who work in the schools, our new members, just dove right in and got involved, and that's what this committee is all about: involvement and helping those parents that need help and need compassion, and our children. So 21 is going to be a good year.
21 is going to be a good year. We are going to go into it with positive, hopeful spirits. So on
It
that
had
note,
better.
It better be. So listen,
Can't be worse.
Don't say that. It's 2020 is not over yet. Don't say that. That freaks me out. Everybody, thank you. We have no meeting, no roundtable in December. So you've got a couple weeks of downtime. Enjoy this time with your families. Be safe. Wear your mask. Let's all stay healthy and safe to end 2020. And just appreciate your time and dedication to this committee every other month. So finish strong 2020. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.